Hey guys, it's Jared. What the hell just happened?
We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. Oh, we're not gonna take it.
Well, unless you've been living under a rock, today has been a little bit of a crazy day. First off, just about what's happening in DC right now. I've been following it all day, and honestly, there's so many reports going every which way that I feel like sometimes it's best just to kind of step back. I haven't said anything on my socials. I've just kind of backed off and trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Right? There's reports of Antifa being dressed up as MAGA just to make the movement look bad. There's reports of Capitol Police kind of letting people through to make people, and there's reports of just a lot of pissed off Trump supporters being there. So is it a bunch of pissed off Trump supporters? Very, very, very possible. Is there probably some people in there that want to instigate some stuff? Possible. I honestly don't know. I think a lot's going to be told or found out over the next few days. So stay tuned to it. Kind of look through it. I mean, there's this one guy. I'm sure you saw him with the well, you may not, but has like a giant Viking fur hat on, shirtless. He should be pretty easy to identify who he is, and hopefully we can figure out because he was made a giant photo op out of the whole thing. Anyways, there was a girl who got shot in the neck, and I've heard died, which is obviously super unfortunate. And yeah, and if the cops indeed shot her through a door, that would be not a good thing. But anyways, here's a little beef I have, right? It's always when the right does something, the left says, well, see, you do it too, and this is why you suck. And then when the left does something, the right says, oh, you suck because you. Okay, if you're on the right, and when Antifa this past summer, when they put a federal building under siege in Portland, if you called them, law-breaking idiots and need to be shot on sight, or you probably don't talk like that, and you may not have said that. I sure as heck didn't. Then you need to kind of take a step back and say, okay, wait. Is protesting against the federal building that you find, and stepping on your liberties a bad thing? If so, you need to be consistent, right? If Antifa feels like that federal building is, needs to be tyranny, needs to be thrown off by attacking the federal building, then they have that right. They also have the right to get shot if they rise up against the government, which to the left, who's now saying, oh, well, I thought it was all about protests were bad. The left said riots are the voice of the unheard all summer. And this was during the burning of private businesses and burning of private homes and all this stuff. So when a bunch of people breach the Capitol and, start standing on desks, don't all of a sudden act like, all hell is breaking loose when we've literally been watching it for months of, granted, it's a little bit different than the U.S. Capitol, obviously. But at the same time, I mean, it wasn't people getting shot in the head like a lot of the protests we saw this summer. So anyways, both sides need to kind of back off, I think, and just kind of take a step back and go, okay, what are we doing? And, to be fair, when the Declaration of Independence, right, it is the right of the people to throw off tyrannical government. If you believe a government is tyrannical, it is your duty and your right to throw it off. So if anybody thinks that's just a peaceful, don't get your hands dirty process, they obviously are not very well versed on the Revolutionary War. Our founders didn't, have a bunch of peaceful protests, or maybe they did, and then it inkled up until, throwing tea in a harbor is one thing, and then, shooting redcoats is another thing. But that's what led up to this Revolutionary War, and that's honestly where, who knows? Maybe we're headed there. I hope not, but so I do want to push back on kind of some of the mainstream media's, been saying, oh my gosh, protests don't need to be violent. And I'm like, where the hell were you for the past 4 months? So anyways, that's just kind of a side note. We'll see what happens with it. I don't think it looks good for the right, for, a lot of people just to do that. But at the same time, man, I mean, people are pissed off. I'm pissed off. I feel like, I do feel like the country has been sold out. I think politicians have stopped listening to their constituents. I yeah, I mean, you look at how the media has been complicit, I think. I mean, Hunter Biden laptop, right? Like that they didn't cover that whatsoever. And then they want to say, we're all about transparency and getting to the bottom of this. So I think there's a lot of pent-up frustration on the right. And I think a lot of it has to do with how the left and how the media has handled this summer and this year. They've pretty much given a carte blanche to anybody who wants to do anything in the name of, social justice. And then they show up one time and push some barricades down and run into a Capitol, and suddenly they are the violent right. And so I don't know. It's a bunch of pissed off people. With that being said, I also want to really hit on, I think, our lines as people on the right, as libertarians. If indeed it holds that the Democrats have taken control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency, and something may happen, but if it holds, I think we need to figure out real quick what our lines in the sand are, because it's coming up quick. And if you don't, I mentioned it a few times, I think, on a video, but I'm going to share with you, 4 of my lines. They're not all my lines, but just kind of as an example to, go through. I'll share my screen on this. My 4 lines are gun control, vaccines, mandatory vaccines, regulation of education, and the Hyde Amendment. What I think people who think it's not coming are not paying attention. It's obviously this was today, right? Forbes, with Georgia handing Democrats control of the Senate, tighter gun control may be in the cards. Biden has said he'd put Beto in charge of his gun thing, which is, Beto's talked about mandatory buybacks. He's gone down the road. So gun control is a no-go for me. That's one of my lines in the sand, and I will not comply with it. That's one of them. Second was mandatory vaccines. This is Johns Hopkins University. Could COVID-19 vaccines become mandatory? And then it goes and says they don't think it will, even though the short answer, once COVID-19 vaccine or vaccines are made available, could the states mandate that people get them? Short answer is yes. States have the legal and constitutional authority to require that people who live in that state be vaccinated. So this conversation is already being had. This isn't conspiracy. This isn't you crazy people. This is actually happening. These conversations are being had. If vaccinations become mandatory, that's a no-go for me. Third is regulation of schooling, right? Like, if you want to teach whatever in the public schools, it is what it is. I do pay my tax dollars to public schools, so I would like my money for that back if I'm not using it. But and this is I'll pick on New York, but New York, this is for homeschooling. So you pull your kid out of school, you don't want them taught some of the things, and it has required courses for every kid, and it requires how you teach them, right? That you must have health education regarding alcohol, drug, and tobacco misuse, fire and arson prevention and safety, including bicycle. So it has all these things that you must teach your child. And, these, you may say, well, those aren't crazy. And, I agree that some of them are not. But when a government starts mandating what I can and cannot teach my children, and they've already kind of started that is something that I just do not accept government has the right to do, and I will not comply. Fourth is the Hyde Amendment. And this one is probably the most, I don't know, I think this is going to come up real quick because the Hyde Amendment, for those of you who don't know, is a federal, the Hyde Amendment bans federal funding for abortion. And as this article says, former vice president has reversed his stance and supports now the getting rid of the Hyde Amendment, which would allow federal tax dollars to pay directly for abortion. And as someone who does believe abortion is the taking of an innocent human life, murder, I will not stand for my tax dollars going to that. And I don't, anyways, that is one of my lines. So I'm not going to say what I'm going to do when each of those lines are crossed. I'm not that dumb to put it on the internet, but I think we need to think about it. I think you need to think about it. And because we're getting there, guys, like it or not, we're there. Yeah, I look forward to hearing more of your thoughts and what are your lines, and put it in the comments. Thank you. Subscribe, share, all that stuff. And yeah, let's pray for our country too. Some of it's I just have a heaviness right now of where our country is headed. And anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.